Hello everyone. Today we are going to deploy a Phoenix application using Camel on Digital Ocean. So the application is a very simple one. It's a simple CRUD to create articles. So, body, very simple. Edit, delete, the classic one. So we will deploy that on Digital Oceans, or like M will look like this. We have one load balancer, two droplets, which will be where our Phoenix app live. We will have two of them, and we will have a database cluster. We will use Cloudflare to manage the domain and the HTTP certificates, and we will upload the Docker image on GitHub. So let's get started. So first thing, we are going to create all the resources. So I deleted them. So we are going to create the droplet first. So we want to create two droplets. So I will choose Germany for myself, but take the closest to your location. We will choose Ubuntu 22 long-term support. Basic plans. Premium is fine. We go for 1 gigabyte of RAM, and this is fine for this pose. So here you need to put your public key. mine is already inside. If you don't know what it is or how to do, there is a link in the descriptions. And we will need to create two droplets. So two droplets, okay, leave the name by default. So we create the droplet. Okay, so while it's creating that, we will create the Postgres cluster. Okay, we will create the database cluster. So we choose Frankfurt, which it has to be in the same data center as your droplet. So Postgres, basic the cheapest plans, and I create the database cluster. Okay, get started, add trusted resource. So here you want to put your two droplets. So you just click and they should suggest it to you. Then VPC network, continue. Great, I'm done. Okay, so this will take time. Meanwhile, we also need to create the load balancer. So it's going to be the same data center again. So Frankfurt for myself. Then load balancer, so we are not going to touch that. So both is HTTP, and Cloudflare will take care of each HTTPS connection. It will be in front of this load balancer. Here, the only thing we're going to edit is the health check. So the health check will be on our Phoenix app. We will set it up on the path up. So we just edit that. And create load balancer. And let's go to the code. Okay, so here you need to have Elixir installed. So if you don't have it already, check the description. There is like the recommended way, like how to install Elixir. You also need to have Docker installed. Also in the description. So first thing, we're going to create a new Phoenix project using phx.new. So we create a project named blogx. So we will fetch and install the dependencies. Okay, so now we will cd into blogx. So now we want to create Postgres with Docker if you don't have one running locally. So we can do that using the Docker compose file. So we create a Docker compose file. And I will copy the config inside. So basically, it's very simple. So we create Postgres with default password Postgres and default user Postgres, and we make it run on the default port and make it available to the system. Save this file. So on my second shell, I will run this Docker compose using a Docker compose command. So it will be like this. So we put the target is the file we just write, and we will put up, run that. So okay, we can see our Postgres is running. So now if we go back in the first shell, we can create our database using the command mixecto.create. Okay, the database has been created. Okay, now let's check how it's look on the browser. So we will use the command mix phoenix server, which we serve our server. We do the default is port 4000 on localhost. It's already open, so okay, we have it here. So it's the sample Phoenix page that you got after using the generator. So now we will go back to the code. Let's stop the server. So we will use the Phoenix generator to generate the sample CRUD I showed you earlier. So it's create a model with articles with title and body. Let's run it. Okay, so next we have to follow the instruction that the generator give to us. So we have to add this route to the router file. So let's do that. So the router file is located in lib, blogX web, and router. So we will put that after the default page, the basic page, so which is get just after here. Oh, let's paste it. Let's keep a line for it to look nice. Save it. The next instruction is to run mixecto, is to migrate. So let's do that as well. We migrate. Okay, everything looks good. So let's run our server again using mixphx server. So okay, now let's see how it look. So the root will be /articles. Okay, so now we have what I showed you earlier. So let's create an article. Save. Okay. Let's delete this one. Okay, so now Phoenix app is done, and congratulations. And now it's time to deploy it. So let's go back to the code. We will cut the server again. So the first thing is we have to add a HTTP route on /up to answer the DigitalOcean load balancer health check, and to also answer the Camel health check, which will be on the same route. So we will write a small plug for that purpose. So on blogX web health check.ex. So basically, it's a simple module. So it's going to check the path info, and if it's up, it's going to answer with HTTP status 200 and put the content to OK, and then it's going to stop the connections. Okay. The next thing is to put our plug in the endpoint. So the endpoint is located near in endpoint.x. So here we are going to plug our health check just before the request logger. Plug blogX web health check plugs. Okay. Okay, let's launch our server again. And now if we go to the uproot, we should trigger our plug. Okay, we got our plug here. Let's check with curl to be sure. Okay, so we got the 200 statues and we got the OK string, so this part is good. The next thing is to prepare the Elixir release, so we have to prepare the Docker image and different files for it. So we will run a bunch of mix commands. So the first one is release init, which will generate some files. We need to edit the relenv.h.ex. So this one, if you want to know more about it, you can read. There is an extra. Wait. So if you want to know more about those files and those config, there is a link in the description. So we're going to edit the release distribution, put it to name, and we are going to add a command here, which is IP, define an IP variable. And we are done. Next step is to prepare the Docker image. So for that, Mix also have a command, which is gen release ---- docker, which will generate a Docker image. So let's check it. Let's check the Docker file. So this is like a Docker file for production in 2 steps with a builder and a runner. So we are not going to touch much here, but we have to do just some tweaks. So first thing is on the runner image, we need the Camel need to have curl installed, so we'll add curl. And then we need to expose port 3000. So now we will create the GitHub token. So we will go to GitHub settings token and we will generate a new token, classic. The link is in the description as well. So it will be blogX. We put no expiration and it has to be able to write package. Okay, generate token. So keep this page open because as soon as you close it, you cannot get this token back. And at the time you see the video, this token not going to work anymore. So yep. Okay, now you have to install Camel if you don't have it already. So it's a gem, so you do gem install Camel. Okay, you should have Camel up and running. That's work. So first thing will be to do Camel init to create the file that we are missing. Okay, so Camel init create a .m5 and config deploy.yam and hooks as well. We will not use hooks today, but you can check later on the documentation what it is. So let's go edit the env. So in the env, so Camel registry person is going to be the GitHub token we just generated. Let's put it. We are not doing raise here, so we are going to remove that. Instead, we will need to have a secret keybase, which is something that is needed for Phoenix app. You can generate it using mix-phx. you're using mix phx.gen secret. Oh, my bad. What did I messed up? Okay. So you can generate it using mix phx.gen secret. Okay, you can do that in another shell as well. So we have our secret key base. Next thing we need to do is to have the database URL. So this one, we will go to DigitalOcean and take care of that right now. So, okay, we are on DigitalOcean. Let's click on the database. And now it should be created. So the first thing is that we are going to create the blogX database. So you go to user and database in this tab and create blogX, save. Okay, now go back to overview, VPC network. Okay, user do admin and choose the blogXDB. We want it as a connection string and let's copy that. Alors, small change, instead of Postgres, we just have to ecto. We don't need to add that. And we are good for this part. Okay, last secret we need to add to env is the phx host. So for my case, it's going to be a subdomain of mr.b domain. So blogx.mr.b.com. Okay, so env is good. Now we are going to edit the config deploy YAML. So let's edit it. So service is going to be blogx. Image is going to be your GitHub username and the name of the service. So in my case, Mr.B blogx. Server are going to be the IP from DigitalOcean. Go pick them. So you go to your droplet. Obviously, doesn't want me to show you. Okay, they are here. Let's copy. So you will put the IP of the first one, the IP of the second one. So the registry, registry is where we are pushing our image, and in our case we are going to use GitHub. So the server is ghcr.io, like you can see here. The username is going to be your GitHub username, in my case Mr.B, and the password, we already put it in the env, is the token that we generated earlier. Let's continue. So we need to pass some env to our container. So in our case, we don't need those ones. So the clear is the clear env that we want to pass to our container. In this case, we want to serve. We want the Phoenix app to serve on port 3000. So we are passing the port 3000 here. And for the secret, we have 3 secrets to pass, which are the one we defined earlier in env, which is database URL, secret key base, and phx host. Okay, so for the builder, so this depends on your configuration. If you are running on Mac, you will need to use emulation, and the config is going to be a bit different than mine. I will put it commented in case. So yeah, so that's the only, actually I think it's only for the new Mac. So if it's the case, you need to have the line like this, but in my case, my env, my development edge is very close to the server, so I don't need that. Okay, now we will use Camel to deploy our Docker image to the server. So first thing, we are going to use Camel server bootstrap, which is going to install Docker on both droplets. So we have to wait a bit. Meanwhile, we are going to fix our load balancer since now it's created. So we are going to put the droplet on it. So let's choose the droplet. So they are probably Ubuntu, okay. And second one, Ubuntu as well. Add droplet. Okay, so the load balancer is good. Let's go back to the code. Okay, still working. Let's be patient. Okay, so it's successful. So Camel work using Git and Git hash. So we are not, we didn't create a Git. It's not a Git repository yet. So we are going to Git init. Okay. So what's the status? So we want the M5 to. You want to add the M5 to your Git ignore to not add it with your secret. So let's tweak the default Git ignore. Okay. So we are going to do a big commit when we put all the default. Okay. So let's go something simple. First commit. Okay. Okay, so we can check. So you see, this hash will be the one used by Camel. So now we can deploy using Camel deploy. Up. And so it connects to the GitHub GHCR to push the container locally. Then it will connect on the server to pull the image, not the container. So right now he's building the image for the first time, so it will take a while. Okay, now he's doing the health check on both, so we are swarm with log because he's doing two machines at the same time. Okay, container are healthy. Okay, so it's deployed on both droplets, as we can see here. So the next step now is like we're going to Cloudflare. So first thing on your domain, you want to make sure that the SSL overview on Cloudflare is flexible and not full. It's doable, but we are not going to do it right now. But this is our load balancer on DigitalOcean, and we communicate through Cloudflare in HTTP and not HTTPS. I mean, it's doable to add a cert here, but for simplicity, I'm not going to do it here. So let's go to DNS and we create the DNS. So we want to create a new record. We want it to be blogX. The IP vcat will be the IP of the load balancer. So it's going to be this one. Okay. And we are going to save. Okay. Okay, now let's go to the domain and see if it's work. So it looks like it's working, so it's propagate. So now let's hit our CRUD root and so on /articles. So we have an internal server error. Good thing with Camel, you can get the logs. So let's go to the code and we will type Camel app logs. So this will take the fresh log. So okay, it look like we have a problem with the encryption, and it makes sense actually because we didn't set up the encryption. So let's fix that. So we will need to update the config runtime. So we have to set this SSL to be true, and we will save that, commit it, and we deploy. So it should not take long. Okay, it's pulling on the server, doing the health check. Should be good. So let's refresh. And we have a different error. Let's check the logs again. So okay, we have a warning because we are missing the third file. One makes sense. But where's the second error? We can also taste the log. So because we didn't run the migration, so we will run the migration. So for that, we are going to open an Elixir shell using the command kamal app exec reuse. So this is going to pick one of the container and call the blogx remote on it. So then we are going to use the release module which have the function migrate, and we will run it. Okay, so it run and run the migration properly. So if we go back and check for articles, it should work. Okay, so we are live. And we are online. Okay, so now I will show you how we can roll back release. So we will do a modification first. So we will instead of using the text here, an input text, we will use the text area. So let's change that. So let's quit that. So this is going to be in the article form component, and we are going to change the form body, which is type text, to text area. Save that. Commit it. So diff from text to text area and deploy the change. Okay, it should be good. So let's check. Okay, we have our text area deployed. So let's say now we have to roll back to the previous one without changing the code. So you can just use Camel to pick the previous container. So let's use the Camel app containers. So this will list all the container on both machines. So this is like this is the hash of the commit. So if we check here, so this is the change. So let's say we want to go back to this one. So let's roll back to the previous one. For this one, we will use the Camel rollback command and put the hash of the commit. And let's do it. So it should be quite fast since the container already exists on the machine. It's just a matter of like stopping the current one and starting the old one. And our body is back to a simple text. The last thing we'll do, we will silence the SSL warning. So to do this, we will go in the edit the runtime again. And in the Blogex repo, we will add this line. So basically, we don't want to verify if the cert is correct or not. Save. Commit. And we will deploy again. Okay, now if we check the log, we should not see this warning again. Okay, so we have an exhausting connection, which is related to the small machine that we are using, the small connection pool. But no warning. Alright folks, so we've successfully deployed the Phoenix app with Camel on Digital Ocean. I want to acknowledge that this was just scratching the surface of what you can do. There is a lot more to explore and dive into. For instance, on the Elixir side, we could connect our Elixir node together using libcluster, or imagine adding a third droplet to manage background jobs only. When it comes to Camel, we also only touch the type of the iceberg. Other aspects include storing environment variable in a password store. The accessory features is also very interesting. This session was designed to be middle ground, not too simple, not too complicated. I encourage you to dig deeper with the documentation and experiment. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment below. I will be reading them. And thank you so much for watching. If the video was of value to you, please giving a thumbs up.